Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we help you understand the complex world of business filings and maybe spot a hidden gem or two, or perhaps uncover some buried treasure. Today we're diving into AutoZone Incorporated's latest report, and let me tell you, this one has some interesting shareholder votes and results from their annual meeting. This Form 8K is a current report filed with the US Securities and Exchange Commission. Think of it as a company's way of quickly letting everyone know about important events that happen between their bigger, more detailed financial reports. AutoZone Incorporated, a big name in auto parts, released this report detailing what happened at their most recent shareholder meeting on the 17th of December 2025. The main event here is what the shareholders voted on. It is not just about bragging rights. These votes are crucial for how the company is run and who leads it. Shareholders get a say, and this report lays out exactly how that say translated into actual decisions. First up, the shareholders elected 11 directors. These are the people who will be guiding AutoZone for the next year until the 2026 annual meeting. The good news for AutoZone is that all these directors got more for votes than against votes, which means the shareholders are generally happy with the current leadership team. It shows a pretty strong vote of confidence in the people steering the ship. Let's take a quick look at how these directors fared. For Philip B. Daniel III, there were over 13 million votes for him and only about 95,000 against. That is a huge margin. The same story repeats for every single nominee. For example, Brian P. Hanash received nearly 13.8 million votes in favour, with hardly any opposition. It looks like the shareholders are saying, keep up the good work team to these 11 individuals. The number of broker non-votes, which represent shares held by brokers that were not voted by their clients, was consistent across all nominees, showing a united front from the voting shareholders. Next, the shareholders also ratified the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP to keep an eye on AutoZone's finances for the 2026 fiscal year. This means that an independent accounting firm will be checking AutoZone's books to make sure everything is on the up and up. This is a standard but very important procedure. Imagine hiring a trustworthy accountant to make sure your own finances are in order, but on a much grander scale for a publicly traded company. In this vote, the support was overwhelming, with over 13.5 million votes in favour of keeping Ernst & Young LLP on board. Only about 1.2 million votes were against it, which is a relatively small number when you consider the total votes cast. Finally, and this is often a hot topic, shareholders voted on the compensation for AutoZone's top executives. This vote is advisory, meaning the company doesn't have to follow it, but it is a strong signal from the shareholders about whether they think their leaders are being paid fairly for the company's performance. Here, the results were a bit more mixed compared to the director elections. While the majority still voted in favour, with over 12.3 million votes for approving the executive compensation, there were also a significant number of votes against it, over 1.3 million. This split vote on executive pay is something to pay attention to. It suggests that while overall shareholder satisfaction with the company's direction is high, there might be some concerns brewing about how much the top brass is earning, especially when you look at the numbers. Speaking of numbers, let's look at the voting tallies a bit more closely. For the director elections, the votes for numbers were incredibly high across the board, often in the 13 million range. This indicates broad support for the nominees. Take, for instance, Claire R. McDonough, who received an impressive 13.7 million votes for her re-election. On the other end, the votes against were generally quite small, often in the tens or hundreds of thousands. The abstentions were even lower, suggesting shareholders were actively choosing to vote either for or against. The broker non-votes remained a constant figure around 1 million across all these director votes, highlighting the significant block of shares tied up with brokers. When it came to ratifying Ernst & Young LLP, the numbers were again strongly in favour. The vote for was around 13.5 million, eclipsing the votes against, which were about 1.2 million. This signifies a clear preference for their continued oversight. The most nuanced numbers, however, are from Proposal 3. The executive compensation vote here, the votes for, at about 12.3 million were still the majority, but the votes against climbed to over 1.3 million. This is a substantial chunk of opposition, suggesting that some shareholders are feeling that the compensation packages are a little too generous given the market performance or perhaps personal performance of the executives in question. The abstentions and broker non-votes here were also significant, adding to the overall complexity of the voting outcome. Now, looking at these results tells a story. AutoZone shareholders are clearly happy with the people leading the company and the direction they're taking it, especially with the strong consensus on director elections. They also trust the firm chosen to audit their accounts. However, the vote on executive pay suggests a need for the board to perhaps Evaluate how they structure compensation packages to ensure they align even more closely with shareholder expectations. It is a common balancing act rewarding leadership while ensuring those rewards are seen as justified by the owners of the company. The AutoZone Inc. had a successful annual meeting from a governance perspective. With strong endorsements for its board of directors and auditors, the advisory vote on executive compensation, however, presents an opportunity for the company to listen closely to its shareholder base and ensure alignment. The company's direction appears stable, but executive compensation will be an area to watch in future filings. Alright, that is our breakdown of AutoZone's latest filing. What is your take on these votes and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description for more exclusive content and community discussion. Thanks for watching. See you next time.